Electric cars are all about going green, about being sustainable. Of course, there is that massive debate about where the electricity is coming from, but that is another subject for another time. Today, we have the Mercedes EQE 500, Mercedes' second full electric SUV, and we are at the Meadows in Gulmarg, one of the most spectacular places, not just in India, but in the world. This is green, this is clean, the air is pristine, the skies are clear. It might rain later on in the day, but the views are absolutely spectacular. It is a fantastic location to test out Mercedes' big stab at leadership in the luxury electric car market. The EQE is a sister car to the GLE SUV that gets combustion engines, both petrol as well as diesel. Now globally, the EQE comes with the EQE 300 as well as the 500. India gets the fully spec 500 with the larger batteries, more range. We'll talk about all of that in a bit. For now, let me focus on the styling. Now, this being an electric SUV, obviously it doesn't need much cooling elements in the grille, so the grille is completely blanked out with the big Mercedes 3.0 logo. Behind this, you obviously have all the sensors for the ADAS functions. You get small air vents below in the air dam for cooling some elements, but otherwise it's all flush, it's all smooth. Mercedes' EQ design language is all soft corners, not very aggressive, not in your face. You see these door handles, they are flush obviously for better aero. In India, because this is the fully spec version, we get 20-inch wheels and we get Airmatic air suspension with an additional comfort mode. We'll talk about that when we hit the road, the differences that it makes in terms of ride as well as handling. But because you can raise the suspension, you can come up here into the meadows and really explore nature. And over at the rear, again, as with all electric cars, you get these connected tail lamps, and that is a solid visual signature. What do you think about the styling of the EQE 500? Let us know in the comments. If you've been in an EQS, the interior of the EQE will seem familiar, but I also realize that not too many people will have been inside an EQS, and this EQE cabin, it looks fantastic. Obviously, the highlight is the hyperscreen, pillar to pillar, made up of 3 screens. It's the 56-inch hyperscreen, comes standard with the EQE 500. You get 1 screen for the passenger. Obviously, the passenger has to be sitting there. Only then does that screen get active. You have this massive infotainment screen and a digital cluster. You do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. All of this, the displays are really cool, really nicely done, very intuitive. I must point out, this also gets an inbuilt air purifier, and right now, external conditions are very good, internal conditions are also very good. That's the beauty of coming to places such as these. In terms of the design, I really like this open poured wood with the Mercedes stars out here on the center console. That is a nice touch. You get Burmester sound system. You get all this fancy mood lighting, so in the evening when the light goes down, it does look very nice. Like I said, panoramic sunroof. In places like these, you can use the sunroof. You get electric adjustment for the steering. The seats cooled and ventilated, and you get massagers for the front seat, no massagers for the rear seat. There's a lot of space also in the center console, so you can keep knickknacks out there. So overall, the cabin, it really is very nice. But this light color theme, while it looks great, I don't know in the long run, especially in Indian conditions, whether it will stain far too easily. Backseat space and comfort is going to be a big focus area for customers of the EQE 500. Now, in terms of space, this is adequate. You can tuck in your feet under the front seat. The front seat is adjusted to my driving position, and I still have maybe 4 inches of free knee room. Headroom is also good. You get a panoramic sunroof, so that also opens up the cabin, lets in a lot of light and air. You get your separate aircon controls. Out here, you have your USB-C slots. It has got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have an armrest. You don't get sunshades for the windows, Nice Burmester sound system, so everybody is going to be happy in here. No rear seat entertainment package. It might come in as an option, but it doesn't have a provision for it, so I don't think that is coming. The seat back angle is a bit upright, but this being an electric car, you get a completely flat floor. So that means a third person can squeeze in the middle. It's not the most comfortable, especially because the backrest is very upright when you sit out here, but it is acceptable for short distances. Obviously, the EQE is a 5-seater. It's not a 7-seater. There aren't any seats at the back over there, but overall, this is a nice environment in the back. A lot of EQS customers did not like the rear seat of the EQS, but they will be much happier in the back seat of the EQE, and that's why it will appeal to a much wider audience. Now, electric cars are no longer a novelty. We've had plenty of them. Yet, driving an electric car in this pin drop silence, especially in a place like this, which is empty, there's no traffic, there is no noise, nothing. It is absolutely spectacular. You put the windows down, clean air. This has got an air filter. You don't need it over here. Fresh air. The views are stunning. We've just had a lovely shower. Everything is cleaned up. The only thing you have over here which is irritating is the horse shit on the road, which is now like small rivers. But otherwise, this place is stunning. And driving a car in this environment, driving an electric car in this environment is just so special. The silence, the effortlessness, and of course, because of the amount of power you have on tap, this is so easy to drive. So nice. Now it's got a 400 volt lithium-ion battery. Total power output 402 bhp. Total torque 858 newton meters. It obviously has 4MATIC to handle all of that power, the instantaneous torque. 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds. Top speed 210 kilometers per hour. Now, with these roads, they are narrow. There is a bit of army movement. It is wet, so we aren't going to be pushing it. But I can tell you that the effortlessness is something else. The ease with which you can harness all of that power, the ease with which you can fire out of corners, the amount of grip also that you have is plenty enough. You get regen modes accessed via this paddle out here. So now I'm in the strong recuperation mode. Range, now that obviously has to be a big talking point for all electric cars. Claimed is 550 kilometers, and right now on the display I've got 80% of battery charge left and showing a range of 340 kilometers, going up to a max of 421 kilometers. Obviously that's if you switch off the aircon and drive it in the pure eco mode. But with 80% charge left over, I still have 340 kilometers real world range. So 550 kilometers claimed, you would easily get 450 kilometers in the real world. And that is plenty enough. You obviously have DC fast charging capability, and Mercedes-Benz, all their dealerships all across the country have 150 kilowatt ultra fast chargers. Also, all Mercedes customers get it free. Now, all electric car customers can charge at a Mercedes-Benz dealership using those ultra fast chargers for free. So Mercedes-Benz is also intent on growing the ecosystem, feeding that ecosystem, getting more electric cars on the road, and obviously that will also drive sales of luxury electric cars. And I think that is the right way of thinking from a leader. Now, Mercedes is obviously the leader in the luxury car segment, but they aren't the leader in the luxury electric car segment. Right now, the iX is the best-selling luxury electric car, but the EQE can definitely give it a run for its money. Particularly since Mercedes, they've learned from the feedback that they've got with the EQS and also with the EQC, the first electric luxury car that was launched in India. And this now gets air suspension. Obviously, the EQS also gets air suspension, but that is a low car and you have to be constantly careful over speed breakers. Here, with the air suspension in standard ride height, you can go over all speed breakers. Plus, you can raise it by a further 20 millimeters to go a bit off-road. It even has an off-road mode, and in that off-road mode it has a transparent bonnet, which actually helps when you're tackling bad patches such as these, or when you go to a slightly off-road location like where we did our opening bites. In terms of handling, well, like with all electric cars, because all their battery weight is nice and low, the handling remains flat, not much in the way of body roll. 20-inch wheels, massive tires, so you get plenty of cornering grip. And this does encourage you to drive in an enthusiastic manner. It also encourages you, especially when you're in a place like this, to take it a notch back, enjoy nature, roll the windows down, breathe in the fresh air. This is sustainability. This is that whole green thing that we all keep talking about. This is enjoying nature without dumping CO2 or even any noise pollution. The airmatic suspension, it also has something called ADS Plus, which is an additional comfort mode, and it does deliver on comfort. Now, when you drive, you obviously do feel the weight of those battery packs, and it does heave a bit over undulations, but the ride comfort is good. This does corset occupants. Now, we don't have any broken patches out here, but these roads aren't smooth, they are undulating, and the EQE does deal with it very well. This is comfortable, no question about it. And this obviously will feed into that whole craze that we have for SUVs. This definitely will eat into the EQS. The EQS, it is a bit firm and it is a bit low. The EQE addresses all those problems. Plus, this is around 20 lakhs cheaper than the EQS. Now, it doesn't get all the equipment of the EQS. Particularly, it doesn't get the rear axle steering. And that takes away a bit in terms of the maneuverability, especially when you are chucking it through these corners up in the hills. But unless you drive an EQE with rear wheel steering and without rear wheel steering, you will not know the difference. And you will not get to drive an EQE without the rear wheel steering. So you will not know the difference. The EQS obviously will be faster around these corners. It is more enthusiastic. Mercedes also says that that is a more driver-focused electric car. And they are right about it. But the EQE, I think, for all practical purposes, is a better electric car in the Indian environment. Our Indian roads, they do favor SUVs, and the EQE SUV does work much better. So the verdict on the EQE 500. Well, first I must tell you that Kashmir is absolutely gorgeous. We travel all over the world. But then you have places like this right here in India, and it clearly is a must visit. Okay, coming back to the EQE 500, well, it has got space, it has got comfort. With the air suspension, you can get off the road. It doesn't touch on speed breakers. The interiors are really nice. The performance is there, the handling is there, and overall, it really ticks all the right boxes. Also, in terms of pricing, 1.39 crores, well, that is nearly on par with a GLE with a combustion engine. When you add in the road tax and everything, this is nearly on par, and it has got more equipment than a GLE with a combustion engine. So in terms of pricing too, this is on par for the course. Overall, I think this will be a winner for Mercedes.